Well, hello, London community. My name is Peter, and I would like to welcome you to this month's December edition of Startup Grind London. And since this is a Christmas period and festive season, we're approaching. I thought it would be much nicer to kind of have more relaxed atmosphere today, and have some silly jokes and also have an amazing virtual networking session after the main talk. So please stay tuned because we're going to be breaking out into these networking spaces straight after the talk. But I would just like to say a quick thank you to our partner, Lewis Silkin, who is a legal firm that supports startups at all stages from seed to exit, really. And you can check out their new website. It's cube.lewissilking.com, where you can find all these useful informations and get some free advice there as well. And it's really great to have a Christmas party. It's a virtual one, but we have a special one because we have two investors on our stage, Isabel Fox from Outsized Venture and Roderick Beer from the UK Business Angel Associations, who are going to share some of the insights from the investment world, and hopefully we'll have some more fun. And I'm really looking forward to this. So without any further ado, I would like to invite to the stage Isabel Fox and Roderick Beer. Are we there?
Thanks, Peter.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, guys. Welcome. And I would just like to ask you to introduce yourselves. Tell us more about your venture and some things for our community to learn more.
I think ladies first.
Isabel, why don't we start with ladies first? Yes.
Thanks, guys. Hi there, I'm Izzy. I run Outsized Ventures with Max and Rodrigo. We're an early stage deep tech fund focused on the future of the planet, future of society, and the future of health. And we're a bit different. We're a bit contrarian. So we've tried to remove the transactional nature of venture. And so we go at seed plus when we get conviction that a founder is the 1%, and hopefully the founder gets conviction that we're the right VC. So a little bit different, going against the grain, and particularly trying to sort of change the diversity and inclusiveness of deep tech with more women coming in as investors and founders. I also sit on Innovate UK Council. That's a big driver for me, making sure that the UK stays competitive and we foster a great environment for founders. And I'm also chair of Surrey Research Park. So if you ever need space, do think about Surrey.
Amazing, thank you. Roderick, tell us all about UK Business Angels Association.
Yeah,
I know
sure.
we had the pleasure of hosting you guys back in 2015 or something like that.
Yeah, a long time ago, I think it was. Yeah, I think Jenny joined. Yeah, I think one of my colleagues actually sat on doing this same Christmas party, but in person, I think, many years ago. So it's good to be back. So yeah, UK BAA, we're a not-for-profit trade body for angel and early stage investing. We're privately run by and for our members. And so our members are made up of those who are deploying capital at that kind of pre-seed, seed stage in the UK predominantly. So we've got about 220 organizations, and they range from angel groups to about 80 or so angel groups now to investment funds, big and small, EIS funds, SCIS funds, traditional GPLP structures, family offices, online platforms, really quite a wide range of those deploying capital into the UK. I think all told, our members invest about £2 billion every year into UK-based businesses. And really our job, like any trade association, is all about kind of representing the community, about helping great investors meet other great investors and invest into fantastic founders. We're really big on that, helping to educate investors about how to successfully invest, but also we educate founders how to raise, because we want that world to work and function really efficiently. I mean, Isabel's already touched the importance of an efficient and effective community. And also we work quite hard on that kind of representation piece. So we'll fight the fight with government, with Treasury, to ensure that our industry continues to thrive as it does, but also we'll work to change our industry. So we conduct a lot of research and understand and try and get our head around the challenges and choke points that are there and then work to change. So we are the founder signatories for the Investing Women Code. We work alongside BAS and Treasury and helping to really improve diversity across the investor community as opposed to the founder community. We think the whole chain needs to be looked at. We also work around the leveling up agenda, so helping to build more communities and access to investment to businesses that are based outside of that kind of Oxford, Cambridge, London kind of triangle, which includes Surrey actually as well. I'm based in Surrey myself, and Surrey is also often gets lumped in with this London and the southeast and gets kind of left behind a little bit, believe it or not, from an investment perspective. So that's us kind of broadly.
Well, amazing. We should do our hopefully a next event then in Surrey. I guess there are loads of people there apart from East London. But it's I believe it's a really nice kind of spectrum of pre-seed and seed that UK BAA does, and kind of seed plus and Series A that Outsized Ventures do. So can we potentially deep dive into some of these ticket sizes and more deep dive into technologies that you, Isabel, mentioned about?
And the definition of seed and pre-seed, right? I mean, it's been changing in the UK in the last 12 months. I think a Series A is now bigger than it used to be. So yeah, it'd be good to maybe let the audience know what that kind of looks like, because I sometimes lose track.
Amazing. Isabel, would you like to tell us more about what do you consider seed plus, and what are those ticket sizes then?
Yeah, so I mean, I think Roderick's really just sort of summed it up quite well, that the Series A's have just pushed even bigger. So typically now the milestones and the inflection points are even bigger than they were before, and therefore the rounds are bigger, often with US players coming in. So what we were seeing in deep tech, and this doesn't work necessarily for like e-commerce and SaaS and other businesses that potentially go quicker at the beginning, but for deep tech, when there's still a lot of risk and science and technology, and then you're being asked to show POCs, product market fit, and potentially revenue for your Series A, that's a long way. Like that's a long way from R&D potentially in the lab all the way through. And so for us, I mean, two things were essentially happening. Seed was getting super competitive. So it was one Zoom with a founder having to get conviction after 1 hour, or there was 5 term sheets on the table for anything that was hot. And there are investors that are brilliant at that, Carlos at C Camp just has amazing muscle memory. He says he can literally be on a call for 3 minutes with a founder and know like whether they're going to be successful. Fortunately, I don't really have that. I get to know founders, have thesis plays, and like to map out my due diligence more. So for us, like moving away from the seed felt the right way to go. But also Series A's have got super competitive now, often with US players wanting to deploy 10, 20, 30 million into them and not really syndicate that much. So for us, we source everything at pre-seed and seed. So we like to see all the founders in our space, identify founders that we think are the top 10%, get to know them, help them, can often be for like 18 months, making introductions, being there to support them where we can and if we can. And then once we get conviction that a founder is the 1%, companies that we believe could go above 3 billion, that's when we move in. And, often it's around an inflection point. So, there's a bit of product market fit. There's probably an MVP that's coming. They may have been doing some pilots, getting the reiteration on product market fit. And there's often a deal that's sitting there. So, a big deal with a big customer that really changes what that Series A valuation looks like. So, often they're quite sizable deals, 10s, 20s, 30s, and millions. And therefore, they want to have a bit longer, a bit more cash just to get to that inflection point and change the dynamics of the Series A. That's when we come in, 1.5 to 2 million check.
And do you also then supposedly follow on with these most successful, best performers companies to the Series B or bigger checks?
Yeah, so we follow on to the Series A, and then we offer it to co-investment for B, C, and onwards. So we write to C plus and A. And really our arbitrage, Peter, as you know, is our contacts to the US market. So, you know, one of the co-founder of Lux is one of our LPs and a senior advisor to us. And it's, you know, it's that network of really helping founders when they're at Seed Plus go to the US and be able to pull in larger capital if that's the route that they want to go. Not obviously excluding UK investors, but, you know, just making sure that we've, you know, given the company all the opportunities it has.
It's good to hear that you're getting involved in that Series C plus. I mean, I think just to kind of iterate as to why that's an important space to get involved in is because it kind of sits at that traditional transference of investor types from that big institutional investor that can deploy at Series A. But before then, typically it's normally kind of like angel investment grants to kind of get them up there. There's been a really good to see a big growth in institutional professionalized money coming into those earlier stages, because especially as Isabel mentioned, in deep tech, in hard tech, in life sciences, things that take a long gestational period to get up to a stage where they can hit some decent metrics, there's going to need a lot of funding and a lot of rounds. So, I mean, I've seen quite a few new players coming into that kind of that seed plus stage as well. And I'm really encouraging of it, because it's, from Angel's perspective, we've got some big ticket writers in the Angel group. Some of our Angel groups are investing 40 million a year, but actually a £1 to £2 million round is pretty pricey, pretty up there for a lot of Angels, although they'll follow on and continue in. It's often hard to actually lead that round. So it's really good to hear that.
Amazing insights, guys. And you know what, you all mentioned this point of inflation, and then where there's a lot of capital. There was sort of a pause during when pandemic started. There's like a lot of capital to deploy. A lot of American investors, as Izzy mentioned, are pushing these big size tickets. Valuations are going crazy. Would you advise founders until his market is corrected, or would you advise them to raise now as much as possible and just kind of get cash into the scale and growth? What are your opinions on that?
Yeah, you raise when you need to as a business to make sure that it depends on your own business, your own sector. Are you going to miss out on your own opportunities against others by not raising now? That's the really big driving point. I mean, now is a good time to raise. 2021, we're going to close out the year with £26 billion invested in equity in the UK, tracked by Bohurst, which is massive. I mean, that is, last year, 2020, the year we all write off, was 16 billion. It was actually a really good year last year on paper, because of a lot of investments happening further up the food chain. So this is going to be a record year in the history books of venture investment for the UK and private equity. So it's really encouraging to see. And I think if you need and you can scale and grow, and that equity play can really help support you achieve that, then now's a good time to raise for sure.
What are your opinion, Isabel? Would you invest now while the market is wild almost?
As a VC, or if I was a founder?
It's a VC.
Yeah, look, we're still investing now. Look, for us, I mean, look, in comparison to the US, our valuations don't seem too crazy when you've got things in the US with 1 million of revenue and they're raising at 1.2 billion. I mean, you know, we have to keep this in. Yeah, they've jumped obviously, but they haven't jumped to that extreme of multiple. No. Look, for our strategy, it's about backing those 1% founders. There we get massive conviction that they can be a 3.5, 4 billion plus company. So, you know, whether we get in 20 million or 30 million or 40 million, you know, if we've got the conviction that the market is big enough and team is good enough to go there, it doesn't make a lot of difference to us. But obviously we're cautious on valuations and not wanting to pay like crazy over the market prices. But, you know, we're not really seeing that much at our stage at the moment still.
Interesting. So do you see expected valuations for the company to be realistic, and what are those based on? Are those values like they're using some sort of multipliers methods, or is there in deep tech everything might be a bit over exaggerated when it comes to valuation at this point?
I don't really see that. I mean, I'm keen to see Roderick's thoughts. I like there's seed deals that are hot, and that they're definitely getting bigger rounds than what they originally came out to do, and they're definitely at a higher valuation. But like on the whole, until you've got revenue, there isn't a multiple. It's more the belief of a thesis play, essentially. Like, and therefore, if you've got a hot space where there's other companies that are showing a great business model and it's working, and people can start to see that you've got a USP, something that makes you different, and the founder and the team is world class, you're going to get a premium for that. So but I still not seeing it that crazy. I mean, I still think the stuff that's getting it, you can see how they could be a 10-20 billion dollar business, and therefore the price that you're getting in at reflects the quality of the team and the quality of the market opportunity.
Yeah, I've
never been a big believer in like looking at valuations. I mean, when I was in America, I thought Uber looked crazy at its, at 1.25 billion, and look where it went from there. So, yeah.
I mean, just backing Isabel, when you haven't got any metrics, you can't value it on as a multiple of anything, because there's nothing there really other than the accountants and the founder's own forecasts, which as we all know are somewhat intriguing what they come up with. But at this kind of stage, at that early stage, that pre-Series A, that pre-revenue stages, it's still valued about. Most companies are based on their values, kind of based around how much do they think they could achievably raise given their traction, the team, the product, the market they're going after. And what's a fair equity holding in exchange for that funding, and can it get into a decent milestone? And are the incoming investors going to get overly diluted down moving forward? So it's all that. It's still a bit of an art and less of a science for sure at this kind of stage.
And that does make sense a lot. Thank you guys for it. And you, Isabel, you mentioned some, and I would just like to dig deep into the kind of sub verticals and sectors that Outsized is looking for. You mentioned deep tech. Maybe our community doesn't know, what are those specific ones? Is the AI, blockchain? Do you work in kind of food or climate, which is very now? Can you kind of elaborate more on your focus? Or what do you think are the hot industries right now?
Yeah, like, look, I think in general, across the board, this is like, the era we've moved into, certainly in Europe, is a software play. And we've got, much, much better at software plays. So I'll start by saying, in general, I think it's this sort of software opportunity across many different verticals that's super interesting. Our stuff at Outsized, it's synthetic biology across, proteins and food, life sciences, but not therapeutic. So a lot of AI, space. We love space, and exploration of space and communication around space and where that's going. We love the metaverse, and particularly linked to sort of augmentative reality, VR, mental health, and healthcare, but also the more gaming side of that with blockchain and crypto coming in. We don't do a lot of crypto, but we definitely like some of the blockchain plays that we're seeing. So I mean, look, I think there's great innovation in just so many areas at the moment, and the UK is brilliant when it comes to R&D, creative, whether that's the sort of gaming, when you put like R&D with creatives, but then you've got the convergence of science and physics and everything else. Like, it's becoming a great opportunity for the UK to win out. And obviously, like, there's other sectors across the sort of e-commerce and SaaS and everything else which other people pick up, but they're the areas we currently like.
It's very useful, thank you. Roderick, what's happening at UKBAA? Is there any specific focus? I saw you guys doing a lot of events. Some of those are in health tech, and are there any specific niches that you you target and support?
There are, in fact, there's quite a lot of crossover with what Isabel's been going for, to be quite honest. So we've been working a lot around the creative industries, for instance. I mean, we mentioned, you might have heard creative industries. The UK punches way above its weight for creative industries. You know, we are phenomenal at creativity, and we have a project and working alongside the DCMS to kind of help raise and build better awareness about how great creative industry scale-up businesses can actually kind of access equity capital and venture capital moving forward. So we're working really hard and developing a lot more education and resources for the investor community around that, because it's massively underfunded from a VC perspective broadly. But we are absolutely smashing it when you look at where we stand from a global scale. I think we have in Europe, the UK's, for instance, in music alone, the music stream is the biggest market in Europe in the UK. I mean, it's massive. There's so much more. Our gaming industry is amazing, incredible. Our film industry is really big. It's really, really good. So we've been doing a lot around that. We've also it's been really good and encouraging to see a bigger lens, a less kind of social impact lens, but a more proper VC lens placed on green technologies and climate change tech, anything that results in that drive towards net zero, where beforehand there were seen as very much kind of like, well, it's such social impact investing as part of my, it's charity work. But now it's shifted really into the mainstream, and people are really understanding that if we want to hit those net zero targets of the future, we've got to invest in innovations today to get us there, because it's the technology now is not good enough. We've got to really, really look at that. So that's been really encouraging to see that. So we had a conference on investing in net zero and how venture capital can help drive that innovation. Our next one is actually in deep technologies, where we're going to cover all things, probably except the healthcare side, because we can do a dedicated health, kind of life sciences, health tech conference actually later in the year, because it's a really interesting space. And again, it's playing to the UK's strengths. I mean, we are really strong from an engineering perspective. So automotive, battery technology, etc. We do really well. We've got amazing universities, so we're really strong in life sciences, Cambridge, Oxford, some great stuff coming out from Imperial, etc. So we really do punch above our weight as a country from a sector specific angle, from that kind of IP creation. And then you factor in this massive wealth of access to capital compared to the rest of Europe at early stages. It's a really great place to start, scale, and find fantastic companies within these spaces. So yeah, it's exciting.
Very exciting. And tell me, you mentioned some conferences. Could you maybe share with our community the events you're running? I think, we have been running virtual events for like almost 2 years now, and we were hoping to start with the physical events from January, but situation in London is a bit tricky at the moment. So what are your plans with that?
Yeah, it's a good shout.
Physical event.
If any of you are members of trade bodies, you might know that trade bodies are glorified events organizations. All we do is basically organize events constantly. So it's a really big thing for us, bringing people together. We had a physical event, actually, at the Homegrown Club just last week, which is really cool, talking about the kind of professionalization of early stage investing. So angel investing has often been seen as a bit of a kind of, just individuals writing checks, but it's become really highly professionalized, lots of VC movement, lots of sidecar funds of angel groups and sidecar angel groups of funds, etc. So we've been really encouraging around that. We got that face-to-face event in just before the latest kind of announcements that we've seen, and so I think we're not going to do anything face-to-face for a while. Our next in-person one we'll probably do is almost certainly our awards. So in July we do our big 400 people at the Science Museum celebrating great innovation and great investing and exits, basically. So we'll do that in person, but in the meantime we're very much doing a lot of stuff online, and it's annoying because you can't meet people and build relationships and get that kind of serendipity that founders love. But the coverage is great. We are UK wide. So, we are a UK wide trade association. We work right across the UK, from Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, but also right across the United Kingdom. And it's really hard to do that when we're not a huge team. And so the online move has been really helpful for us to be much more representative across the country. So we've had some really great engagement around that, but it's not as good as, getting together and having a few drinks as well afterwards, which is always the fun part as well, right?
Well, especially in this festive season, I suppose.
Yeah, we meant to go to Paris for our Christmas do, but we decided we'd have to isolate when we got back until we got a negative test. So we just thought, you know what, let's just cut it. So there you go. It's another slightly not as good Christmas, but there we go.
Yeah, so maybe I would like to open the floor to questions to our audience. So if anyone wants to ask our speakers any questions, please post in comments, and the best one will be asked. So please do that. And in the meanwhile, because we're in a kind of Christmassy mood, um, despite the lockdowns and things, I would like to ask you some silly and funny question, if that's okay, just to bring us more into
Peter, I'm pretty sure you said about cracking some jokes. I can't wait to hear what your cracker jokes are going to be. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, of course we can crack some jokes, yeah, but I really wanted to ask you a question that is more personal, and it's what did you want to be when you were growing up, Isabel? You're now an investor, but what was that thing that you wanted to be when you were growing up?
I wanted to be a vet, but I did a work experience in a veterinary surgery, and they very kindly, within about 10 minutes of me arriving, put me in a gown and say, "Come in, we're going to do a cesarean on a dog." And literally the smell was so bad I fainted, and I was literally like, there's no way I can be a vet. That's just disgusting. So that was kind of the end of that.
Oh my goodness. Maybe they saw your parents' horrified look at the thought of putting you through medical school for it and just thought, you know what, we're going to do them a favor and put us straight in the deep end and see what happens. That's amazing. Brutal and visceral.
Wow. Wow. Thanks for sharing. How about you, Rod?
Well, I don't think I've grown up yet, so I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. I'm sure I'll get there. But when I was a little one, I wanted to be an ichthyologist, which is basically studying sharks, like a marine biologist, but study of sharks specifically, which I thought was I was really always been fascinated by it. But unfortunately, you know, there's only so much. You know, just don't go down that kind of career path.
How about you,
Amazing.
Peter?
Yeah. What about you, Peter?
That's an interesting question. Well, actually, I wanted to be a musician, and then I went to a jazz school, and I kind of still love playing music, and I occasionally still perform, but it never became like my kind of profession and my calling. But I still do this. I'm very passionate about music. It kind of makes me happy and makes other people happy, and that's kind of the purpose for me on this planet, I guess. But when we're talking about
what do you play, Peter? I can imagine you on a jazz flute, but what do you play?
Well, yeah, well, I studied jazz guitar, so but I can
cool.
play
Very cool. Very cool.
Christmas songs in a jazz way, you know, which is nice. You know, my father told me if you play guitar, all the girls will love you in the school, you know, and I know that jazz. So it was kind of helped me, you know, get my stress out or kind of be more in the flow. And it's always fun. It's still a great passion. But what about you, Isabel? What's your passion? I know you're very passionate about well-being, and is there specific things that you really are passionate about?
Yeah, my big passion outside of the work is horses. So I've got my daughter's ponies at home, but I also breed show jumpers, and that's my big passion.
Oh.
So it's a bit like BC. You mix different stallions with different mares, and you hope to produce the winner. So I think it plays to my sort of BC strategies quite well, and I like it. So at the moment I've got lots of babies, and we'll see if any of them turn out to be any good. So it's a bit like having a portfolio, but just with animals.
Beautiful. How about you, Rod? Do you have any great passions?
Well, to be honest, you don't. I've got 3 young kids, all boys, and so my passion is really spending a lot of time on the side of various pitches, from football to rugby to many things in between. So always enjoyed a lot of rugby when I was growing up, and always have done as well. But also, you know, as a middle-aged man, my biggest passion is DIY and you know, getting ever slightly madder about things, storing things in my garage and being a little bit crazy about it. But so that's really mine where I'm going at the moment. I'm enjoying my my older years anyway. That's for sure.
Amazing.
Show jumping, horse breeding. That sounds amazing. We've got my family are a family of riders as well. Actually, they love it. My mum has some racehorses in Australia of all places, but it's a very expensive but very rewarding place to get involved.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. So at the moment, I'm in Costa Rica, and what we usually do here in the sunset, we ride horses on the beach. And that's kind of really nice way to end the day. So I'm enjoying it as well. I'm not a professional, but it's kind of the passion as well, which is interesting. But and when it comes to investments, and then it's about people, getting to know people more personal, and then kind of we're, I guess, investing in people at the end of the day rather than businesses. And I believe that's one of these Isabel's also, thesis where, you invest in people and then you get to know them kind of on a personal level in order to understand their capacities. And it's, well, I guess it's worse than a marriage. You invest in a company and it's easier to get out of the marriage than the deal. But tell me please, what were some of the most funniest things that happened with your portfolio companies or investment deals that you had? Or were there any kind of funny situations that you had?
Yeah, look, I think look, I love people, so I love getting to know people, and we always say we invest on just the right side of crazy, but I do love crazy people. So I love getting to know people and their stories and what drives them, their passions. And obviously there's always some funny stories that come out of that. The people that want to make billions so they can put dinosaurs back onto the planet. I mean, and then, that founder I took to Oxford, and there was a professor there, and he was like, actually, we're not that far away from being able to do that. And I don't think you'd need that much money to do that. So, you
Wow.
can fuel someone's passions outside of out of their work. But I love the stories about why people start the things that they do. And often there's a real personal story behind that, whether that's seeing people go through illness, or um, just a passion for cleaning up the world. And I spoke to a founder yesterday, and he's a world champion kite surfer. And when he was going around the world, he was just couldn't believe the amount of plastic that he was seeing in the sea. And he was Googling these places, and they were coming out as some of the cleanest beaches in the world, and he just couldn't believe it. And now he's started that monetizing people picking up plastic and then changing it into pellets and making clothes out of it, but also doing a crypto, a coin with it. And it's just awesome. But it's like, for me, it's getting to know people at that core and what's driving them.
It's a privilege as well working. I've always loved this industry because it's a kind of a privilege to be. I mean, first of all, they're letting you in on their worlds and their passions, and they're super passionate, and you get to be a bystander of that, and that's a real privilege I've always felt. And I think also the variability of it. I mean, you go from one thing, one sector to another, one challenge to another, and you just see so much of so many things. I just think it's such an exciting space to get involved in. I've always felt a bit honoured and kind of privileged to be able to work in this industry, to be honest, and love it really.
Same. I feel privileged.
You see some crazy stuff though, and you see some good fun stuff as well. You do see some crazy stuff, but it's also quite an emotional space to be in, because to an extent, often these people have started their own companies. They might have used family money. Things might not be going so well, and there's a lot of emotion involved in where we are as well sometimes. So it does have its challenging times as well as the good, but it's always, it is always a bit of an honor and a privilege to really help support them.
Yes, I guess these people are really making the world be a better place with lots of social impact, health and things. So I guess with the family offices and then those money, they actually, even if company doesn't succeed, there is a kind of importance of an impact that it creates by its support. But well, we heard that
itself, they're going to hire people, they're going to train people, they're going to create a kind of a work family and do great things. And so it's not just the impact of the technology they're doing, it's the impact that a good leader and someone who really cares about people can really have on other people's lives. So it just creates that, and it's just creating the next generation of the big companies and setting a new standard about how people want to work. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, like I call this conscious investing. So it's something that we invest with a pure consciousness. But you mentioned beautiful things about what you also look in the founder in a way, whether there's like a real passion or a bit of craziness as well, just determination to create that, and it's like not driven fully by the money. But what other things do you think are the values in the founders when those who pitch you? Do you look at the kind of their traction or maybe IP? Is it something unique about the technology? Is it a team, or what are those main things that you kind of look at when you want to invest in the founder?
For me, one of the quickest, because we do organize pitching and we do speak to a lot of founders, and we've got to try and help do some filtering as well. So we do quite a bit of that. For me, one of the first things I look for is that validation, is that external validation and that traction. And that can be, it doesn't have to be customer traction, but I want to see who else is looking at what you are doing and thinking, that's really cool, because that's actually a really good starting point. It does separate quite a bit of wheat from the chaff, as it were. I think it's quite important, that aspect to it. So I look a lot for that, but obviously team is massive, really. It's such an important part, and I'm guessing Isabel's the same, but I'll let her answer.
Yeah, mine's the same. I mean, look, I go on a team more than any of the ideas. A good team will pivot. You know, and if you look at accelerators, they always say they'll take the best team with no idea over a great idea, but a tier 2 team. So I'd always go on the team. I guess the stuff we're looking for is what's your unfair advantage, i.e. why are you the team that can win out? And that's usually you're technically a lot better, but actually often you're commercially a lot better. So not necessarily in our space does the best technology or the best IP win. It's people that understand the customer need. Often in our space, you can see solutions looking for a problem, whereas the good founders really understand what the problem is. They understand customers, they've spoken to them, and they're building for that need, and it's a need that people are prepared to pay for. And then for me it's logic. I once saw look, we don't really look at models particularly in a lot of detail other than to test logic, but once I saw one company, I think it got to like $1 billion in revenue, but the cost hadn't even changed. And it was like, oh goodness, that would be a great business if that was true. But don't think you're going to get there with one salesperson. So, you're just sort of testing logic, like their ability to learn and to be humble. Don't expect everyone to have all the skill set, but knowing what good looks like, or putting the time in. People that really think things through, go and get advice. You can tell those people that have really considered the hires that they need, why they need them, the ratios. If you hire a salesperson, what does that look like in terms of revenue and remuneration? Just people that have logically worked it out. And the answers are nearly all out there now. Like there's no real new business models. All of the ratios are out there. If you read and you're a person that wants to learn, there are many people, many places you can go to do so. So we're definitely looking for that. People that can grow into being a CEO, whether they've come from an academic background or they've never started a business before, but people that we think can grow. Like to Roderick's point, also like a world view into the real world, not into some sort of academic world. Understands the problems, and people that are fun that we want to work with. This is like a 10-year journey for us.
It's a long-term marriage, isn't it? It takes a long time to be investing with them. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, last week another VC and I spoke to a founder together, and it was so dreadful, this call, that like we were just like, goodness, we just could never be on a board with this person for 10 years of our life. Like it would just be dire. So like, for us, it's also about personality. Like, do our personalities meet? Not to say that this person, is a great person, but it just wasn't going to be much fun for us. So for me, it's also about people that want to come on the journey with us and want to do something, build something that's really big.
And that thing about wanting to grow is quite key and crucial. Some investors that one of our previous Angels of the Year investors, she has a really cool, especially when they're early stage, she'll ask a founder a really difficult question that she knows that they do not know the answer to. And she wants to know how they answer it. She wants to know, do they avoid it? Do they distract and move away? Do they outright lie? Or do they go, well, you know what? I don't actually know the answer to that, but I'm going to try and find that out for you and come straight back to it. Are they open and honest about it? That's another kind of key thing they look for, that key personality trait about, being open to the fact there's a lot of risks that are out there, and you're going to try and mitigate those, and also wanting to, being open about that. I think that's a really key thing. And the stats play out. We do a lot of research on exits and stuff for angels and everything else. And, we ask them, what is the key driving force for your portfolio business to actually make a successful exit? And it's most of the time it's down to team, a good management team, followed by a little pinch of luck. Actually, is often quite there in the stats. I think a bit of luck. So it's a really big thing there, to be honest. I think it's crucial.
Yeah, I think
that's
luck and timing. Like,
yeah,
you can see companies that were amazing, but they were just 3 or 4 years just too early, and then suddenly, bang, right on trend, and another player will come in, won't be too dissimilar, but they've just got the timing so right.
Yeah,
timing is crucial. That's great for our community to know. Guys, it's been really, really pleasure and fun talking to you. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And now we're coming to a close before our virtual networking. I would just like to ask you if you have any closing remarks, anything to share, some Christmas wishes or something that you want to announce. For example, Isabel, I know you have a big news to announce. I know the TechCrunch is drafting the article as we speak. So maybe you want to share something with us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we've got to a great milestone ourselves, and so should be coming out in TechCrunch hopefully this week, early next week. But yeah, essentially, we're in the market and looking for great founders. So do reach out to me. All my details are, well, you can get them from Peter, or they're very easy to find on LinkedIn. So please do reach out.
Thank you for that. And congrats.
Thank you.
Roderick, is there anything else you want to share with our community?
No, I think it's just, I think it's just, I think I know you've got a strong founder community out there, Peter, and I just want to hats off to the founders that are carrying on to fight. We've been through some crazy times. The crazy times will continue, but what I've just seen is an amazing perseverance and great achievement from the founder community. It's been so good to see that. We've done a lot of work around working with Innovate UK, around some support, working with the BBB, around some of the response programs as well, from all the crazy stuff that's been going on. But it's just been great to see the pivoting, the sheer amount and number of pivots that have been. I don't think I've ever seen teams pivot so much in all their lives, but it's been so good to see that. So I think it's just about, staying on your toes and keep on innovating, because investors are there. There is investment there. There's more investment coming, gradually moving its way down the investing food chain, normally from the top down as it comes down. So it's becoming easier to raise. It's still hard work when you're really early on as a business, so it will always be challenging, but the investors are there. They want to find great founders and back you. So, the world is there for you to take. And I think it's been great to work. It's been a great year for the community.
And you do have a deal flow platform on UK BAA website, don't you?
Yeah, we have a free deal share platform which we opened out. So actually we've got about 90 live deals, about 1,500 investors on there. But you can only add them on if you're a member of UK BAA. So we've got quite a lot going on that as well. And we do pitching. We do like 12 pitching events a year, always thematic. We do it alongside the Mayor of London and Amazon and others as well. And it's just about showcasing great founders doing great things in certain sectors. So we do deep tech. We do climate technology, and we do loads of, in fact, the next one's in February around automotive technology as well, hosted, hopefully in person actually, at the London Transport Museum, and you get a free all-day pass at the London Transport Museum if you attend. So that's the joy. There you go.
Amazing. When is that again?
February. Date has been confirmed, but I don't know it. So, well, I forgot. Sorry. February sometime. It'll be on our social media.
watch that space. I'm looking forward to that and seeing you all in person very soon. Once again, thank you so very much for coming and sharing wise words and this very dear and fun talk to me. So I'm wishing you a happy Christmas and a great New Year if we don't see each other before that.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, same.
Enjoy the networking, everyone.
Thank you. For the very last, I would like to share something about our team and about our partner. Hope you can see my screen. Let's just go to the full. Yes, this should be good now.
Perfect.
Yes. So this was a very nice talk. I really enjoyed it, and I just want to mention again Louis Silkin, who you will be able to meet some of them in virtual networking. If you have any questions about the IP, about any legal aspect, raising funds, David, Ben, and Anna will be there if you have any kind of thoughts, and they're very helpful. We've been partners for many years, so make sure to talk to these people in the networking. And we have our board, Marian, myself, and Tim, who are leading this chapter with a great team of ambassadors. We have Effie, Lorelai, Antonio, Ash, and Kane, who will be here on the virtual networking, and they have these superpowers, as we call them, from sales, growth, to accounting and e-commerce, AI, blockchain, and e-commerce in various different sectors, even food. So make sure to say hi to them and then to kind of express your needs if you need any help, or if you want to connect with anyone. And yeah, join us for our virtual networking. It's happening just on the top right tab, networking, and hope to see you there. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in January. We'll see if it's going to be in person or not, but definitely virtually. It's going to be a hybrid one. So thank you all. Have a great day.